You've got to make several findings. One finding, and this is something that I'm used to doing, making findings. One finding is that the cooperative plan is consistent with each participating municipality's comprehensive plan. It doesn't say with one or the other, it says each. I think you've got to follow the statute. I always had to. That requires that there be a comprehensive plan. It doesn't have to be a comprehensive plan as a term. It can also be, the term escapes me, but it's they can have another plan. But you heard said today, they didn't even look at developing. They didn't have any of this going. So how can we determine if this cooperative plan is consistent with Kekoskee's comprehensive plan if they don't even have a comprehensive plan? And then if you look at section 5 of the submittal from the town, what do they say? They say, well, we do have a comprehensive plan, but we're in the process of changing it. During the whole process, we're going to change it. Of course, it's going to be consistent with appropriate development. How can you determine if the plan is sufficient under the statute if even the town acknowledges that their current plan, which is a no-growth plan, isn't the plan that it ultimately is going to exist? I don't think you can do it. And so that's where your analysis should stop. You can't make that finding. Another finding you need to make, are there adequate provisions for necessary municipal services? Now, I'm not going to address the water and sewer. I think that that's been talked about. But one of the things that hit me is that there is a reference that the village will continue, the new village, and actually I like to think of it as the Village of Kekoskee, because that's really what we're doing. We're taking the Village of Kekoskee and the town of Williamstown is consolidating into the Village of Kekoskee. So the Village of Kekoskee and the town, do they contract for their police department? I don't think there's any contract. I know our sheriff is here, but he can correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't think that there's any contract for those services. The only police protection they get two ways. One, because the sheriff simply provides everybody in the county with police protection. And secondly, they get police protection because there's the city of Horicon and the city of Mayville. And you know what happens with this police protection is there's what's called mutual aid. And it was kind of interesting. I was at the town hall and I was talking to the clerk and the treasurer about mutual aid. He said, oh no, the city police, they never come into the town or the village. Well, they do. And so I asked the police department to look at what are the statistics for mutual aid for our department. And the mutual aid in 2017, there were 37 instances of mutual aid. In 2016, it was down, it was 19. 2015, there was 34. And as many of you know, we've got a new computer system for our police now. And I was told that these are just the documented ones, but there probably will be many more documented ones. Now, how does this mutual aid work? Well, the city of Mayville, we spend almost $900,000 of our taxpayer dollars every year to provide a police department. We've got 8 full-time officers, we've got 4 part-time officers, we've got 2 staff members. And so we have these individuals and our money being spent with mutual aid so we can provide emergency protection for the town and for the village when there is an emergency and they don't want to wait for somebody to come all the way from Juneau to provide it. You know, and I think as a taxpayer, I think this is a good thing. I enjoy helping my neighbors. I snow blow a couple of women's driveways. And you know, if my neighbor had a lawnmower and the lawnmower broke down, I'd go over and mow the lawn for him. But you know, my neighbor never buys a lawnmower, and I have to keep going over with my lawnmower every time they need their lawn mowed. At some point, we've got to look, is that appropriate for our neighbors to use their neighbors in that manner? Other services. that are provided by the city. Library, we have a budget of $170,000. No library here. We have facilities for gatherings, Mayville Senior Center, the Naval Park Pavilion. Now, they do have a town facility here that is good for gatherings. We have a recreation budget in the city of $70,000. We have a Mayville Golf Club. We provide an 18-hole municipality course. Testing? Testing? Okay, floor views? Okay.
It's on.
Oh, it's working on? Oh, okay, good. Okay. We have the Mayville Golf Club. We have the Tag Center, which is a beautiful, and I encourage you to look at it, in a quantity fitness center. It's an $11 million gift from the Boundry Foundation. But we have a budget of over $800,000 for that, and the city puts in $125,000, $130,000 a year to keep it going. We have many parks: Foster Park, Ribbons Park, which provides soccer facility for the school, Tyler Park, 3 baseball diamonds, Ziegler Park, baseball diamond and hiking trails, Lions Point, Rotary Park. And the Mayville pays $164,000 a year of our tax dollars for parks that we all enjoy, whether you're in the city, the town, or the village. And I think that's appropriate. But you know, then we get slammed because some developer wants to develop land. We acknowledge that they want to bring their land into the city, and we permit it, and that's inappropriate. And then they can't develop it for whatever reason. But I don't think that you can find that all of the services that are needed will be provided as set forth in the plan. And the law requires that you look at the plan to determine whether or not these findings can be made. Third finding, and I think this is the most important one. The shape of any boundary change under the cooperative plan is not the result of arbitrariness and reflects due consideration for compactness of care. Considerations relevant to the criteria under this subdivision include quantity of land affected by the boundary change. So, is the decision to have the entire town with a boundary agreement moved into the village arbitrary? One can't determine arbitrariness without looking at what an appropriate reason is. Now, I heard the town say, well, you know, this is the only way that we can get the entire town in. And they're going to be consolidated or merged anyway. But that's not the standard here. What does the cooperative plan look for? It is the purpose of the plan, and I encourage you to look at 66.307(3D). The purpose of the plan. The cooperative plan shall be made with the general purpose of guiding and accomplishing a coordinated and adjusted and harmonious development of the territory. So that's the purpose, development. And it doesn't matter in looking at the compactness and whether this is arbitrary, whether or not they can form a village or whether it's going to be a town. That's irrelevant. What is relevant is, will it encourage development of the territory? And there's nothing in the plan that says that if you give this village that is failing all this extra land, that this village will do any additional development of any kind. Nothing. So it is arbitrary, because it doesn't go to what is the purpose of a plan. And, you know, in looking at the purpose, what the purpose is, I think it's appropriate that we go back to become the Village of Williamstown, when they gave the notice. And they told us what the purpose was. The purpose was to establish more permanent boundaries, no more annexations, protect our residents from extraterritorial interference, empower our local government to better protect and control our rural identity. To protect a rural identity, you don't have any development. You keep it rural. But that's not what these cooperative plans are intended to do. Next thing, is this compact? Did they consider compactness? Did they consider whether they could do the same planned development if they only had a small area go into the village of Kekoskee? The size here is huge. I mean, really? You're taking a village that is 0.5 square miles and you're making it numerous times that size? And what is compact? It means having the parts neatly or tightly arranged within a small space, not sprawling or scattered, a compact community. Well, that's from Webster. This isn't compact for two reasons. One, because of its mere size, and that's something you can consider, is the quantity of land affected by the boundary change. Second reason it's not compact. Look at the what the city of Mayville does to the access from the southeast corner of the town to the village center. It's got to be 4 or 5 miles, and you got to drive right through the city of Mayville. That's not compact. And there's a case, and I'm sorry I don't have a site here, this on point that was found that a city could not incorporate because it wasn't compact, because it was divided, much like the town of Williamstown is divided. So, I don't think you can make the findings that are required to approve this boundary agreement, even if you think it's appropriate to move forward with the boundary agreement. I'd like to briefly address the reason that's stated for Williamstown becoming a village, and that is establish more permanent boundaries, no more annexations. And, you know, I heard that since 1994, there have been 7 times when divisions have been denied by the city. And I believe that some of those probably were divided in different ways. I don't know, I didn't look at them. But they're upset because the city didn't acknowledge the desire of a property owner to divide. But I submit that during that same time, the city acknowledged many more residents or property owners who wanted to annex into the city of Mayville. We said, yes, we will let you annex into the city of Mayville because we know that it's beneficial for you and it's beneficial for the city. Now, I think that I just want to talk about annexation. You know, there are different kinds of annexation, but this is a direct annexation that we use with all of our annexations. And with a direct annexation, there has to be unanimous consent of the owners. It has to be contiguous. And so that is the type of annexation we've used. And I don't think that that is inappropriate. It acknowledges the desire of the property owner in the town of Williamstown to annex. Now, has the town been financially harmed with these annexations? Attorney Hemis talked about the budget. I came to the town hall. I looked at their budget. They are averaging approximately $600,000 per year in landfill host fees. It's not necessary for the town to levy any taxes. The town taxes their fund with the levy, with the fees from landfill. In addition, there are no town taxes. In addition to no town taxes, they have a fund of about $168,000 that they divide between all of the properties in the town, and that reduces other taxes. So in effect, when the city annexes property, other residents in the town get a little bit bigger portion of that $168,000. There are fewer properties to share the wealth with. What does this mean? Usually a municipality has great incentive to develop their property because it adds to their tax base. They don't want more tax base. They don't want to share the wealth. And in fact, that's what they're talking about. They want to maintain a rural setting. I just want to give one little annexation example as to how this works. When Shopko annexed, the town was actually paying the former owners $372 every year towards their other taxes.